I started to get weak. I was doing Bikram yoga at the time, and I remember I could do less and less of the postures, so finally I couldn't do them at all. And that's when I realized there was something really wrong with me and started working with my doctors to find out what was wrong.
All of a sudden it seemed like he had no energy and started having all these physical symptoms that were pretty scary. These episodes that kind of looked like seizures. They ran all kinds of tests. And in the end, they could say, well, we know you're in a ton of pain and we can see all the inflammation you have going on, but we don't know what's causing it.
So I went back and did some more doctors and finally found a doctor that referred me to a specialist. They discovered first that I had a black mold infection, which explained a lot because I was starting to have electrical storms in my brain. So my brain started to get really fuzzy and have all this electrical activity in it, and it started to scare me. So they cleared up the black mold infection, and underneath that was the Lyme disease. I worked on the Lyme disease for a couple years. We made some progress and then started to feel a little bit better, but felt something in my stomach, just above my stomach. And that turned out to be a tumor. And I had, they did some investigation. It turned out to be stage 3 lymphoma, Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's actually a hybrid between Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's. So they did surgery on that, and very extensive chemotherapy, really, nuclear chemotherapy. The chemotherapy damaged my nerve system a lot more, and I was slowly but surely having to take medication, more and more medication for pain. So I had a good friend, my former business partner who was in commercial real estate with me, that introduced me to Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and I started reluctantly at first doing some of his meditations to try and get control of my pain. And I'd done some meditation before, so it worked out pretty well, and I started to get a different experience in my body. And I thought, okay, here we go. And then about 2 months later, I had a pain in my lower gut and my gallbladder failed. They had to do 2 surgeries to get it taken care of. And that just finished off my body. My energetic body was done. And all that momentum that I was starting to get was gone. And I was now at the weakest state and barely alive, could hardly breathe. And just felt ready, like, I'm gonna die here. If this doesn't, I don't do something, I'm not gonna make it. So I found Master Ming Tong online, and I remember seeing him online. He had this smiley, happy face and this bald head, and I go, I don't think I can study with a guy like this. He just looks too strange to me. But I gotta tell you, he was the only guy that my master that I'd worked with before didn't have anything. So I went and saw him up in Port Townsend in the summer of 2016. And I went to retreat.
So first time when I met Tom, that was about 2 years ago when he came to retreat in Port Townsend, and I was really noticing he was struggling with pain, with emotions, and yet also I'm noticing he was really determined to make this work for him. So I quickly recognized he's going to thrive in the program. And so that is the most important piece when students show up, how determined they're ready for this work.
So I went to the retreat in a wheelchair through the airport because I couldn't walk that far.
And I remember sending him off to the first retreat. He was pretty much at the end of his rope, and he's like, if I don't find something soon, this is it. Like, I just can't do this anymore.
I heard of the story that he came on wheelchair in the airport, and of course once he's in retreat, he's sitting most time actually on the floor, lying down on the floor, sitting on the floor. Then over the days he gradually sitting more on the chair, and his energy was really low, was very fragile. So he sustained in the most of practice with a great effort. And then the main practice we did as a movement, and actually I discovered later he was going through extreme pain, and I think for most people probably give up easily, and yet he really persisted in spite of greater pain.
The first thing he says we're going to do is we're going to do spinal twists. Well, my spine's fused from the bottom to almost the middle. And the doctor that operated on me said, listen, you can do a lot of things, but you can never twist again. And the first thing we're doing is this movement. And so I'm kind of at a point, I'm really literally concerned about whether I'm going to live or not, so I don't care. It's like I'm going, what have I got to lose? So I start twisting, and it's opens up huge amounts of pain. I've got all this scar tissue, areas I've never moved before. And at one point, I can't remember the end of the third day or the fourth day when it happened, but all of a sudden, I had this amazing opening in my spine, and this energy popped up from the bottom of my spine all through the top of my head. And it was like this just huge amount of energy and voltage, and I had this connection, a spiritual connection that I never ever experienced before, and it literally blew me away.
Most of therapists would say, don't do that. You want to, do listless movement, and not to mention, dramatic movement with spine. But the idea here is a very different approach. It's about opening the energy, opening the blockages, opening the internal power flow so that you can recover. So often in the beginning can be challenging, as Tom experienced. Then in a few days, the energy opens up. So the great shift change started to happen, continuously happening.
I'd been able to slowly but surely let go of different medications, and my body was getting stronger and it was healing at an amazing rate.
When he came home, he didn't need a wheelchair, which was the first time he had been able to do any travel without a wheelchair in years. And I think that was the first time either of us really felt like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, that he might be able to get well enough to function again. The contrast between what my dad's like now and how he was when he was sick it's amazing. Even well before he got sick, he had to give up surfing because of back issues. And that was a major passion from him when he was growing up. And I just remember, I think it was after the third retreat, he took a trip to Hawaii, and my cousin was able to take him out surfing for the first time in maybe 20 years. And that was unbelievable.
I have such a gratitude and such optimism and such excitement about my future. I feel so connected to Source, and it's an increasing connection. It just gets stronger and stronger. I feel guidance online. I feel access to love. My heart is more open than it's ever been.
This whole process, whole journey of recovering from this condition allow him to tap into, discover in a deeper level, as who he is, the essence of himself, essence of who we are as human beings. And so it's been really quite wonderful to see him blossoming in a new way, and now he's able to help so many people.
So it's amazing, this journey with Qigong has only been 3 years. It's been a little over 3 years now. And from the time I started in 2016, it was only 14 months before I was able to let go of most of my medications, and 2 years before I healed everything, including my low thyroid that I'd had for most of my adult life. So I'm on no medications now. So I healed, my urinary system, my gut, my anxiety, brain fog, PTSD, sleep apnea. And I have no signs of cancer at all. So it's been really wonderful that way. I'm more loving, I'm happier, I'm so much healthier, and I'm so much more optimistic about my future. And I feel fully resourced to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And I can't imagine a bigger gift. I really can't.